Let's actually get into Spartan football. For those that somehow missed it, Michigan State lost 24-17 last night. I want to immediately get into, there's a couple different headlines we could talk about. Nate Carter, shout out, legacy game. Unfortunately, the Spartans did not pull out a win despite his incredible performance. Best game as a Spartan, hands down, not even close.
Yep.
Just a key plays that just didn't go the Spartans' way, or they shot themselves in the foot with a 12 gauge.
It was more that, I think, yeah.
So it's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
But I just want your initial thoughts, feelings. Let's just air it out. We don't have to break down X's and O's or pretend like we know what we saw last night. Let's just air some grievances. Let's just get it out. I have my personal thoughts, but Mr. Henderson, I want to start with you because you told me you were going to walk out of the studio if we started with Spartan football today. So I understand it sucks.
I can't comprehend this, dude. I don't know.
I can.
Nothing.
This is a 4-4 football team
This
for
is
a
a
reason.
team. This Michigan team, we described them on Spartan Red Zone as a worse Iowa. This team does not know the concept of a forward pass. They are 130th out of 133 FBS teams in passing yards. And yet somehow this defense found a way to make Davis Warren look like Ben Roethlisberger in the pocket.
No.
You also need to put out an APB for Charles Brantley. Did not see him at all in the game. I don't know if he was guarding Colston Loveland at all, their only receiver, but he was missing. Don't know where any of the defense was, quite frankly.
Here's where I'm at. Last night sucks. Losing to Michigan is always the worst. I didn't lose any sleep over last night's loss because, first off, if you're going to lose to Michigan, have it be when you're both 4-4 and both like Michigan needed that win last night
That's
more
the
than.
thing.
And I understand. Yes, it would felt so good to ruin their season.
This Michigan team stinks. Like
this Michigan State football team
is not better at all.
If you're going to games like that happen, Michigan State outplayed Michigan. They ran the ball down their throat the entire night. Michigan State hasn't done that since 2017. It's been 7 years since, and even the Kenneth Walker game. Kenneth Walker had 4 that were big time runs. Otherwise, he didn't run the ball super effectively that game. That was just Michigan State had nothing better to do. And Kenneth Walker, if you give him the ball enough times, he's going to make plays. But Michigan State effectively ran the football for the first time in almost a decade against Michigan. That's the biggest win. Because also, if you haven't been paying attention all year, Michigan State is going in one direction as a program. Michigan's going in a different direction as a program. The Spartans have looked better these last 2 weeks. They played just as well yesterday as they did against Iowa. I truly believe that. And yes, there are a couple key plays didn't go their way. It happens. If you're going to lose a game like that, I'd rather it be this year, where they're 4-4, and now they can still make a bowl game because Purdue, they're going to beat Purdue. The way they're playing, they might win 3 of their last 4. Illinois looks terrible. Purdue can't get off the floor, and Rutgers also looks lost. Mm-hmm. And Indiana's good. Michigan State, I think, can beat Indiana. Not that they will, but without Curtis Rourke, that's a winnable football game next weekend.
It seems like he's going to play next week.
Even if he does, Indiana's bread and butter is running the football. And Michigan State's run defense the last 2 weeks, even beyond that, last 2 weeks, I would say, since the bye, has been awesome. I personally, I was pleased with what I saw yesterday. I did not lose any sleep, and I think the people screaming and crying and throwing up over the fact that a 4-4 Michigan State team lost to Michigan, find something better to complain about. Seriously, it. Take solace. The fact that the last 2 years you got ran off the football field by this team. I was there. I had to call a 49-0 football game last year. That was embarrassing. Last night wasn't embarrassing. It sucks. You lose to your rivals sometimes. You went on the road with a coach who had never been a part of the rivalry before. It looked like he had never been a part of the rivalry. There are a couple of key mistakes. The worst player for Michigan State yesterday was Jonathan Smith.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can live with that.
I agree with everything you're saying, but the fact that Michigan State, for a lot of the game, and if you look at the stats, outplayed Michigan, that's what makes it hurt so much.
Sucks. I understand that, and that's why if this was a 7-0 Michigan State team that lost and now their Big Ten title hopes are kind of in question because they lost a game they should have won, yes, that hurts, and that's one you lose sleep over. But last night, all I'm worried about with this team is that they're playing the right way and moving in the right direction. This team isn't winning anything, and we know that. So why
It just
I get physically having Paul Bunyan,
like
and now you have to listen to Steve from Schoolcraft, even though he couldn't even sniff Ann Arbor. Yeah. That's going to do it for Spartan Football Talk. Michigan State takes on Indiana, 3:30 kickoff next Saturday from Spartan Stadium. Joe Dez, Oscar Henderson on the call on WDBM. When we come back, we're going to break down the nationwide college football slate from last week with a college football blitz, courtesy of Mr. Joe Dez. Don't go anywhere. This is the Green and White Report. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Green and White Halftime Report here on WDBM East Lansing. Matt Merrifield and Jacob Bauer in the Impact 89 FM studios in East Lansing, as at the halftime break between the Michigan State Spartans and the Maryland Terrapins, Michigan State leading 17-14 in their Big Ten conference opener, the first conference game under head coach Jonathan Smith. And I guess Jacob will start off with just initial reactions after the first half. And Aiden Childs did not play very well last week, to put it lightly, but he seems to have slowly started to figure it out here in this first half.
Yeah, Michigan State coming into this game a 9-point underdog, and to have a 3-point lead at halftime, they need to be happy with that. I know they're on the road against the Terrapins, and to start off like that, a lot better than they did against FAU. They had a slow start against the Owls last week, and this week, first drive, taking it right down the pipe. Aiden Childs had that interception, but then responded right back, and he's looked a lot better so far. And Michigan State has to like the play out of their QB1 so far.
Yeah, the first half line for the 18-year-old quarterback, 12 for 22 for 141, 2 touchdown passes, the 1 interception, including a really nice touchdown pass to Jerron Glover for 34 yards to tie the game at 14. Spartans also on the run game, running it pretty well. 11 for 76 as a group, 7 yards a carry. Nate Carter, 5 for 49. Karan Lynch-Adams, 4 for 24. Childs has just 2 carries for 3 yards. So running game looks good. Michigan State throwing a lot here this first half. 2 pass plays for every run play so far in this first half, despite Coach Lindgren, the offensive coordinator, usually being a pretty run-heavy coach.
Yeah, that offense has looked a lot better. You know, last week against the Owls, the Spartans really had that one big play from Karan Lynch-Adams, but couldn't really get anything going on the rushing end. And the passing end, Aiden Childs didn't have the best game. Today, it looks like both those phases are in the favor of the Spartans. Nate Carter, only 6 carries, but already has 42 yards, looking a lot better than he did last week against FAU. This Spartan team, they look much improved on the offensive end. They look like they have their chemistry. It's not shaken, it's not bacon, but or I guess they're doing a little bit more bacon than they were last week. But Childs, he had that overthrow. He struggled with it last week against Florida Atlantic, but then he was able to respond. I think that's the difference, and that's what you want to see out of a young quarterback, a captain of this team. But I also want to mention the defense. Defense, first drive of the game, Maryland converting on 4 third downs. And that's tough for a defense. They go out there, Aiden Childs throws the interception. They give up that touchdown, but after that, they've been lights out so far. Joe Rossi and this defense look great so far for the Spartans, and we'll have to see how they look in the second half.
Yeah, both defenses, their biggest issue so far today has been third down efficiency. Michigan State, as an offense, went 6 for 8 on third downs. Maryland went 6 for 9, including 4 for 4 on that opening drive. So both teams defensively need to figure out a way to get off the field. That is probably going to be the biggest difference here in the second half. Michigan State doing a nice job shutting down the run game. Maryland, as a team, has 18 for 56 on the ground and the 1 touchdown from Billy Edwards Jr. The freshman Nolan Ray from Southfield is the leading rusher for the Terrapins with 3 for 17 in that first half. Roman Hemby, the bell cow back, has just 7 for 16 yards. So the Spartan front 7, we saw it last week, looked good, and it so far through this first half appears to be for real. Getting the new players like Daquan Dowse and Dunnigan all appear to be very strong pieces up the middle, and the run defense of this Michigan State team appears to be very strong. And then back on the offensive side, Childs spreading it around well in the receiver room. Jerron Glover, 4 for 74, and that 30-plus yard touchdown catch. Montori Foster, after a rough game last week against Florida Atlantic, he has 7 targets, 3 catches for 30 yards, and also that first touchdown. Nick Marsh taking over for Alante Brown in the receiver room. He's got 3 for 30 on 5 targets. And then Jack Velling, who was really quiet, has 3 for 16 on 4 targets. So Michigan State, overall, I think doing a pretty good job and definitely seems to be moving in the right direction. Then on the defensive side, other than the third down defense, I think we have to be pretty pleased, Jacob.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of Spartan fans thought they would have the lead at halftime. The question would be, we saw what they did against FAU. It looked a little bit rough, especially in that second half. Now the question would be, how would they look against Big Ten opponents? And it seems like they had a great week of practice because all three phases of the game are really looking spectacular for the Spartans.
Yeah, I think we can go back as much as people want to forget the previous regime for Michigan State football. And there's still another whole half to play, but people remember losing to Rutgers week 1 under Mel Tucker in 2020. And obviously the offseason coming into that season with COVID and everything made an issue. Spartans turn over 7 times, lose to Rutgers. The next week they come out and beat a Michigan team on the road. Now this isn't the exact same situation, but I mean, they come out and they look like a completely different football team this week. They look like they have everything put together. The offense looks closer to what we were expecting. Still some things they need to figure out, but it's still early. Aiden Childs is still young, like we were talking about. A couple of those sacks, we might want to see Aiden Childs not want to stand in there and probably should take off sooner than later. But on the flip side, for an 18-year-old quarterback to have the confidence to stand in the pocket, I think that's a really good sign that he wants to stay in and try and make a play and isn't too scared to try and, he doesn't want to panic as soon as possible. So I think there is a good level of maturity we are seeing from him. My only concern is last week against Florida Atlantic, Michigan State had that last touchdown from Kayron Lynch-Adams at like the 7-minute mark of the second quarter. They didn't score the rest of the game. So hopefully this offense will make adjustments that help. And, the second half, the offense can continue what it's been doing today and doesn't fall back to what happened last week where the offense was abysmal in that second half and the Spartans were able to squeak by with the win. And we know that Mike Loxley and this Maryland team is going to come out just as strong in the second half. It is a college football Saturday. There's a lot of things going around the country. In the Big Ten specifically, Penn State got into a tough battle with Bowling Green. They won that one 34-27. Rutgers dominated Akron. Minnesota won 48-0 over the Rams from Rhode Island. And then the game of the week that everybody was looking forward to, Texas heads into the Big House on Big Noon kickoff, and the Longhorns stomp the Wolverines 31-12. We still have a second half left to play in College Park as the Spartans lead the Terps 17-14. Michigan State will have the ball coming out of the half. After this, we'll have the second half of action with Joe Dez and Oscar Henderson. Matt Merrifield, Jacob Maurer. Thank you, Jacob, for joining me for the Green and White halftime report here on WDBM East Lansing.